Marriage is complicated.
I vomited on the spot. I was like, immediate divorce.
That's why they're here to talk about it.
And he thinks that burping is unacceptable, but farting is fine.
Nicole Pellegrino.
My thigh sweat is chafing together.
Caroline Crawford Patterson.
You're making it so difficult for me to do anything here.
Honey, we're home.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Honey, We're Home. I'm your host, Nicole Pellegrino.
I'm Caroline Crawford Patterson, and this week we are talking about babies.
Why did I just intro us like we're on an actual talk show?
Cheers.
Cheers with the bottles. We have baby bottles.
I guess that's enough now.
I'm going to do the ultimate mom move and pick it up with my feet.
Good job.
Yeah. Look who's ready to be a mother.
You know the moms and dads to like suck off the pacifier with their own mouths when it drops on the floor?
Yes, like a bird.
Yeah, I currently think that's gross, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to be that person.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to get feral as a parent.
Anyways, I can't even hold a bottle, so I don't know how I'm going to have a baby.
No, but this is a highly requested topic. You guys have been begging for us to talk babies. It's been a touchy subject, but we're going to talk it. It's a scary subject, let's face it.
It's a terrifying subject. I think, honestly, also, it doesn't matter which side of like the pendulum you fall on right now. It's on all of our minds. Any person who is recently married, getting married, been married for a little minute, like this is something that we think about, whether you're going to have children or not going to have children, when you're going to do it. Even outside pressure is like being asked. So there's just a lot to unpack.
Society gives you no chance but to think about it constantly. So we're going to unpack all of that. But first we want to say Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. I hope everybody had the best time.
No, truly Happy New Year. Hope you had the best time. I don't know if you went out. We're recording this before the New Year, so who knows?
Honestly, who knows what condition we will be in?
Yeah,
like,
truly.
I feel like I'm definitely going to do a sober January.
You are?
We can discuss after. Like next week we'll talk about it, because I always say that and then it becomes like a wet January. Like,
what's wet again? It's like
I drink on the weekends, but not during the week.
Okay, I'm not gonna do that.
That's slightly more like feasible.
I'm not gonna like heavily drink. Like I don't heavily drink during the week. Yeah, I've tried dry January in the past, and it just feels like stupid. Like,
no, it's a fail.
It's always like week 2 of January. I'm like out at an event or like with a friend, and I'm like, let me just have one glass of wine. I don't know. Like, if you're doing it, great. And I'm not against sobriety, obviously, but I just like, I don't know. I'm not gonna. I set too many damn expectations.
I spoke like too highly of it. I've never actually completed a dry January.
Yeah.
So maybe I should phrase it that way. I'm going to try to drink less in January. We can't have kids.
We've spilled the bottles like 7 times.
We've spilled the bottles. Okay, so we want to talk about babies. And one thing that I was reading on NBC in an article recently was that the median age now for kids is 30, which, if you are not familiar, it used to be like 19 or some bullshit like that. 30 is like actually a very high median age.
Thank heavens, because like, I mean, back when our parents were young, they were a lot of not my mom. My mom had us like late, but.
Yeah, mine too. My mom actually had her oldest at 30.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Same
I mean,
that.
still, I mean, like they were probably having kids late for their time, at that time.
For sure.
Right.
People were, I mean, I know so many like friends' parents that had them at like 23, and that just, it sounds insane. Me at 23 popping out a baby.
You know what I also think? I think that our like maturity has slowed down. Like I think that there's nothing wrong with it. Like I personally think that it's nice, and I hope that my kids get to experience that on a new level. But like we are given a little bit more time to grow up now. Like,
yes. You mean it takes us a little longer to mature?
Yeah. Like I think we're allowed a little bit more time to like be in our 20s and like have fun and have like, we have like this season of life that's like post-grad. I'm not really sure that our parents like
had that.
I don't think that was as like common.
I agree with you. I think a large attribute to that is social media. Like, I make TikToks for a fucking living. Some could argue that that's not a mature job.
We're like a joke, actually.
Like, I just think truly, like, social media affects so many assets of life, aspects of life, we're like playing around with our phones or just like having access to like screens and information has like
there's just more to do. We're traveling more. We're going out more. We're moving more. Like that move that a lot of us do 2 years after graduation. I don't think that used to be as common.
Well, and that's what I mean. Like the traveling more, I think a lot of that is because social media, like we're seeing people travel on social media, thus feeling the pressure for us to travel, which our parents didn't have back in the day because they didn't have the internet, or like phones. Did they have the internet? I don't fucking know. But
wait,
like my dad's always like,
isn't the 80s the internet?
Yeah, I don't know. Whatever history, whenever the internet.
I mean, they had it, but not like as a child.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't have iPhones until we were literally in middle school. I remember the day they announced the iPhone. I was in 6th grade.
Yeah. So point of the story is, like, my dad's always like, you guys travel so much more and spend so much more on that than I ever did. Like, and it's true. I mean, that's why, like, our parents were focused on getting married, then, like, buying a house, having kids, or most of them for the most part. Versus us, we're focused on like living life and then doing that. Not all of us, but like us.
No, I mean a lot of us. Like, for example, we literally have the majority of emails that we get about the podcast are about babies, which is why we chose multiple, because honestly, it's like same story, different font. It's extremely intriguing, and also makes me feel like I'm not the only person having these like very nuanced conversations. Like, not like the overarching, like when you're gonna have babies that like everybody always asks you, like the more intimate details of it that kind of feel like literally what the fuck.
Yeah. Before we get into our first email though, I feel like we have to say thank you so much to everyone who's listening as we're entering the new year. I mean, I don't know about you, but I could not be more thankful for all of our listeners.
Yeah,
like we finally got this damn podcast launched and you guys are loving it. You're sending so many questions, emails, feedback, etc. And I'm just so grateful to have you guys. Like, this is my biggest accomplishment of 2023.
This is mine too. I was thinking about it earlier and I was like, look at how much I did in 2023. Like, that's crazy. Yeah. And this is a huge one because we spent so long waiting to do it.
I know. And I honestly, like, my resolution for 2024 is just to like make the listeners happy.
That's a good resolution.
That's all.
Just to make people happy. Honestly, though, I'm very proud of us. And thank you guys very, very, very much, because there is definitely a part of you when you do something like this, a part of you, like the majority of you, that is like, this could actually fail so badly. It's terrifying. It's so vulnerable, especially because ours is about our lives, where we are in our relationships. Which has proven to be scary. Yeah. It has proven to be scary to tackle, honestly.
Our poor husbands. Like,
I know. And they're actually angels, which is like.
Truly.
I think the feeling of just accomplishing something in its entirety is cool.
Well, and also on that note, please, you guys, as we've said, we really want to like iterate on this podcast and give you what you want to hear. Again, you guys have all asked for babies, so that's why we're doing this episode to New Year with a bang. But please rate, review, subscribe. I know it sounds dumb, but it really does help.
It really, really does help. And do you know what's been so cool that you guys have been doing is that you actually have been extremely engaged in like DMs and emails. And every single thing that we have talked about has come from somebody's personal story. And I would love nothing more than to continue to be able to do that.
Yeah. I love that our audience is with us in this journey.
I know, it makes me feel less alone also, by the way.
Really does.
Okay, so we're going to do Let's Talk About Babies, and Nikki's going to read our first email.
I love that you call me Nikki. Let's talk about babies when your timeline does not align with your partner's. After all, it takes two to tango. Is it just me, or do guys think that babies magically appear? As a 30-year-old woman who now has many friends trying to get pregnant or recently pregnant, I've become much more aware of the reality of fertility, planning, and trying throughout a slim window of opportunity to bring a baby into this world. She says, my husband is a surgical resident. We've been married for 3 years and always discussed trying once he finishes his residency. He hit me with a curveball the other night and about how stressed this topic makes him and how he'd rather wait 1 year post-residency even to start trying. Does he not realize that the baby will not magically appear? In his defense, kind of sweet, he wants time to travel the world with me and enjoy life post-residency. In my defense, I know that it will take at least 9 months, but most of the time, it'll take much longer than that. Trust me, I know life is about compromise, and I feel like I'm already compromising because if it were up to me, I'd get this IUD out in January, but waiting an entire year and a half, even to start the process, seems like forever away for an eager mom to be. Wondering if having a different timeline vision is more common than I think.
Honestly, timeline is an ever-moving thing in this specific conversation, and I feel like it's about so many different things. Like
for this, like even just reading this, the guy of course doesn't want it yet, the girl does. I think that's more often than not the case because like she said, she's having these friends, becoming aware of all the fertility issues. As us women get to this age, 30 and above, you do start talking to people about it. Your female friends. Friend, that felt so weird saying. But like you do start talking to friends about it and you hear about issues or you hear about them getting pregnant really fast.
Yeah, it's
but
scary.
Like I think we're just more aware of the fertility issues because it's often has to do with our bodies.
Yeah, because it affects us. It's not even something that happens to us. It's something that we have to prepare for mentally, emotionally, and honestly, physically. Like raise your hand if honestly, like you've ever read an article, ever had a conversation about things that you either want to or should do before you even get pregnant, or honestly before you even start to get pregnant to make your journey easier, more effective. Like so many things. Like guys do not exist on that same plane. Like unless they're told that they need to, like at a different phase of the process. And it's not like, that's not something that just like lives in their minds rent free.
Right. Well, and like, I get his point. This is a tough one to answer because I do get both sides to their point. Like he wants to travel. Residency, my brother and sister-in-law are in residency. Just to make you feel better though, they have a 1-year-old in residency, which is insane.
And he's so cute.
He's so cute. You've got to have, I will say transparently, like they have so much help. They have her parents. They have a very full-time nanny. Not full-time nanny. They have a babysitter. They have a nanny now, whatever. Yeah. They have help.
No, having a nanny is literally the same article that I read, the NBC one, that I was like, this is such a general thing we're going through. Mm-hmm. One of the first quotes said from a woman, I waited and now I can afford things like a nanny that I never would have been able to afford before my 30s. And that has made pregnancy, motherhood, something that has now required less compromise of me, like going forward, like she can still focus on her career and like all these things. Like I'm tired. I'm honestly sick and tired of people like being negative about the connotation of having help.
Yes.
Like what's with that? I literally don't get it. My mom was a single mom, like had a full-time nanny, and I've never heard her apologize for that.
No. If you work your butt off and you have, I'm over the negative connotation of like spending your money on anything when people are like, but especially when it comes to help. Like, I don't care how anybody spends their money. Spend your money however you want, but like, if you want help, especially spend it on that, you know?
Yeah.
Like, what?
Well, are we all like choosing to live on a rock where we're not seeing all of this stuff about like postpartum and like career compromise and all this stuff? Like if you literally are allotted any amount of resources to which you feel like you are blessed or fortunate to be able to ease that pressure off of yourself, like I will be damned if somebody makes you feel bad for that.
Yeah.
Like, are you for real?
Yeah. I mean, and the reality of the situation is not everybody has access to help. Not everybody has the privilege of being able to afford it. And I get that, but it's different for everybody. It depends where you are in life. This couple is clearly a surgical resident, very busy. And I do see his side of wanting to wait until after residency to even start trying.
I see that, and I've heard that before. This is not the first that I've heard of that. So I like get that. And I think she's also saying that she like can understand why.
Yeah, totally. But I don't know if you've talked to people. I've talked to a lot of couples with kids, which Caroline and I both don't have kids yet. So we're speaking from that perspective.
You know what I actually thought? I was like, I wonder if someone's going to think this is an episode of us announcing that one of us is having a baby.
It's not.
I know. It's that's not coming.
Yeah. Newsflash.
That's not.
But Yeah, I mean, I do hear the thing always, though, like, couples always say, you're never ready, you're never ready, you're never ready. And I get that, too. But I think it's also, like, okay to not feel ready and not do it because you don't feel ready.
I agree. Can I say something? I feel like people, this is not a universal experience, but this is just more of what I've seen and I also experienced in my relationship. I think the conversation of like, or maybe the narrative of normalizing that you're never ready is something that needs to be talked to like towards men, because they tend to like,
push it back.
even in this, they tend to be like, I want like time to look like this and money. It's always financial with men too.
Mm-hmm.
Like they always want to, I say always, and I know I'm not supposed to say that, but like
Often,
I feel like men should have the conversation with someone to be like, calm down, you're never ready. Like there's never going to be a perfect time.
Yeah.
And I think the conversation with women should be like, do not rush it just because someone says you'll never be ready. I think that women have a little bit better intuition about when they are, you'll never actually be fully ready. And I always say this, but I will be more ready than I am right now.
Yeah.
I'll be ready to the point that like makes me feel like the time is right. And like my intuition is telling me that this is good. And like mentally I'm in the place to do this and like shift my life. It's going to take a lot out of my body.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to take a lot out of my time. I think it should be okay for women to say, I'm not ready and not have pushback. But I think that the conversation about like, you'll never be fully ready, like
applies to men.
I
would agree with that. Point well made. Yeah, I mean, the men, like you said, they always fixate on like logistical things like finances and stuff, and you're just like, okay,
there will always be something to fixate on.
Yeah, that's why I think people say that like you're never really ready, because there will always be something in a reality situation. Like there's always not going to be enough help, enough finances, enough space, enough whatever, enough free time off work, enough paternity leave, enough anything. But so that is why people say that.
But I think that men just focus on certain timing aspects that are frankly like only somewhat in our control. Mm-hmm. Whereas the timing aspects that I find women focusing on are like actually
biological clocks.
Yes, and solvable. And a lot of times, like if a woman says, I want to hurry up, usually, and this is where I agree with her, that I do think that men have a different concept of time with pregnancy than women, because it's not their bodies going through it. Mm-hmm. I don't think they understand. And one time I had a conversation with John because he was giving me pushback on timing. Mm-hmm. And towards the end of the conversation, I actually realized that we were talking about physically becoming parents at the same time. And I was just so confused. No, but I was like, how are we not aligned but then are aligned? And I realized it's because he wasn't thinking about how much time it takes to actually prepare for the baby, get pregnant, have the baby. Like literally in his male brain, mm-hmm. he thought, we'll get pregnant at 32 and have a baby at 32 and decide.
No. 9 more months, babe.
And even maybe more on top of that, depending on how long it takes you
to get pregnant.
I'm like, no, you start talking about it. Right. Like,
yeah.
So when I said, let's start at 31, he's like, well, I was thinking 32. And I'm like, no, you were thinking at 32 you would become a dad. But I become a mom the second that I'm trying to like have a baby or like become pregnant.
Yeah, like when you're pregnant, like you have to, like you said, essentially become a mom and like start doing all that, like parent mode, start eating all the things, researching all the things.
I have to treat my body like that immediately. So to me, that's when that starts.
I agree. And like to me, that's also when a large portion of your thoughts, time, your brain space goes to parenthood, because I mean, I know when I get pregnant, I'm going to be like fully trying, like responsible mode. I'm not going to be going out.
She knows this because the psychic told her.
Yeah. The psychic was like, you just wait, focus on work. And then, because like I put so much of my energy. I just know I'm going to be putting so much of my energy the moment I know I'm pregnant into that baby.
Yeah.
Before that baby even pops out.
100%.
So timeline of it all, I want to go back to your point about like the women's clock though, like, or you didn't even make a point, but we said that because that is something over the past couple years, and it feeds into this, like I see why she's pushing it more than him. That's something over the past couple years that I've just realized, like everybody says, you have so much time, don't worry, like
Yeah.
we've all got time, you're too young. And I totally get that. I don't want this to come off as like me rushing everybody to have babies. But I think it's so different for everybody. So some people have more time than others, depending on how many kids you want, how old you are, obviously. But
how many kids you want is a huge one.
Is a huge factor.
And that's the other thing regarding timeline, that guys aren't putting in the math.
Yeah.
You have to back into it almost.
Yeah, you have to
when
say,
you start.
I want 4 kids.
And I want to stop being pregnant as a woman because it's a physical toll on your body.
Mm-hmm.
I want to stop being pregnant at this age, which means the latest I can start is here
this age.
based on how many kids you want.
Well, and like my sister-in-law's an OBGYN. Like she sees infertility issues all day, every day at work. So whenever I talk to her, she's kind of like, in a way, not put the fear in me, but just like made it more realistic to me that the reality of fertility issues and how it does take people so much longer, and like, you know, not everybody has access to freezing their embryos, eggs, cryotherapy, all this stuff. But if you do, obviously that buys you some more time, which honestly, Mike and I are probably going to do that because I know
it does buy you more time, but then that's also a financial thing too. So it's
I
like,
recognize that fully.
like, right, like you can't even start that unless you can afford it, which is like a whole other thing.
Totally. Or unless somehow your company covers it with insurance, which is rare. But
yeah, which is great. But I think the timeline is different for men and women. I don't think that when I should have brought this in. One day I made a timeline recently.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, you did make a timeline. I've never made the timeline.
I made the timeline, and I made the timeline of like, this is the month that we're going to start trying. And then I said, this is the ideal. So I was like, the first baby I will get pregnant right here. I like wrote down birthdays. I was like, I turned 31. John turns 29. Okay, I get pregnant here. The baby is an Aquarius. Then I have recovery for X amount of months. And then I get pregnant in this date. And then the baby will be this. And then this. And I set it on the counter for the 4 kids. And I texted John and I was like, I made a baby timeline if you could review it, like when you get home. And he never looked at it because he was so scared. And recently he found it. And I said, can you please just look at it? Like, it's not that freaky. I was like, because it was, to her point, I was like, I think we're more on the same page than you think. You just think that like they're going to pop out and it's going to keep going.
Yeah.
And I found that to be very helpful with John to literally write out, by the way, you need this many months to recover, and then your body needs this, and then you probably don't want to be pregnant again until this point in time, and then you probably do not want to be pregnant after this age. Like you could be, but it might be really difficult.
That's a really good point. Like you hear people all the time, including myself. I used to say this before I like learned the facts. You hear people all the time saying like, oh, I'm just going to wait until this age. And once I do, I'm just going to pop them out within a couple years.
Yeah.
A, you don't know. And yeah, you don't know if you physically can get pregnant and B, not to scare anybody, but through the doctors, I've learned it's not that safe to get pregnant close together. And some people do, and they have a wonderful pregnancy, and their babies are so healthy, and God bless them.
But it's still a conversation of timeline.
Yeah.
And it is flexible, and it's always moving. John's come to me before and said, like, we had a conversation of timeline on having kids before we ever got engaged. And
I think
like,
that's so smart.
And then we like check in with each other like once a year, and we'll be like, how are we feeling? And so far we've kind of been on the same page about timeline, not so much of some of the other things. So we've had to like work through it. And then I have always been very candid with him though, because I'm like, it's not just the first kid you might have trouble getting pregnant with. It could be the others. And like, also this is what it's going to mean for me. And then like in the timeline, which he eventually looked at, was like, oh, actually like this is actually great. Like whatever. He's like, oh, I like that you put an extra break between like the kids 2 and 3 because like of the physical adjustment of going from a family of 3 to a family of 4. And then like being able to bring in like a 5th kid, the financial adjustment, like you're going to need a bigger house, like all of those things. Like,
yeah.
This is not simple.
The break between 2 and 3, I think, is a thing. My sister did that, and she was like, I just need to be not pregnant for like 1 year.
Yeah.
And that's been this year.
Because guys don't get it. I wanted to kind of have a kid and then say, I'll have the next kid when I feel like it because I know that I don't know how I'm going to feel pregnant.
Yeah.
Like I might hate it.
Yeah. You might love it. You might hate it. You might love it for one. You might hate it for one.
So I didn't want to compact it back to back to back. And I have gotten to a point where like I am now I've backed myself into a corner where I'm going to have to compact it back to back. But I did it for myself. I like didn't do it for John. I'm not ready for kids. Like I like our little apartment in New York. Like I don't want my life to change. But I was able to make that decision. Like he didn't make that decision. He's very good with that though. Like,
yeah. I think that is so smart, the timeline thing. Like, it's just going to help get the facts in front of your husband. So to this listener, like, I would do what you did. Like, just, like, make a timeline and get it in front of him. Because maybe he literally doesn't realize, like, all the aspects of, like, how long it takes to try and whatnot. Because, again, men don't. And also just, like, about him, like, traveling the world. This is something my sister-in-law said. Gotta give it to her because she's a badass OBGYN, finishing up residency, has a 1-year-old, an amazing mom. Her philosophy, which, like, really stuck with me, which now I carry, is, like, why does, like, having a kid have to mean, like, you can't travel, you can't have a career? Like, I would tell your husband that. Be like,
we'll start that conversation.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it takes a minute to like break down those like preconceived notions.
Yeah. And your travel's
based on how you grew up.
Super different. Don't get me wrong. But like you can still travel with a baby, or a toddler, whoever. You can still have a thriving career and more. My sister, not to toot her horn, but she's like the #1 seller on her team. Yeah. And she's the only mom on her team in her like regional area or whatever. Like you can still be a badass mom and parents.
You can.
And do all the things you want to do.
But I would bet $1 million that every single one of those people that are like still traveling, that are like badass parents and have badass jobs, have had crazy communication with their partners about how it's going to look and like really level set expectations.
Yeah.
Like right now for her, like she's carrying so many burdens about timeline, and he isn't carrying those burdens with her, not because he doesn't love her, because he doesn't want to, probably because he's not in her head, and like just based off of like being a guy, doesn't fully get every single thing that when he says I want to delay it, everything that triggers her to like be like, well then this changes this and this and this and freaks me out about this, and like he doesn't get it. And I feel like even with like your sister and your sister-in-law, they probably also went through that, where they had to like have those conversations to be like, this is why I want to do this when I want to do it. And this is everything that I stay up at night thinking about when it comes to timing and how I want my life to look like after. And this is the support that like I'm going to need, or how I want us to use our resources to like make that happen.
I think it's just a matter of mapping it out for them.
I think it is mapping it out.
Some guys are like down. Like Mike would have a baby like yesterday, honestly.
John got baby fever recently and then like proceeded to apologize to me for having it. I was like, why are you apologizing?
Yeah. You want to impregnate me.
He was like, I just don't want you to think that just when your career is starting off that I want to get you pregnant. I was like, nobody thinks that.
But for us, this is going to sound so unhinged and savage. For us, honestly, a baby would like help the career.
Well, I mean, we did have like one conversation where he was like, yeah, like we'll move out of the city. And I was like, no, we won't. This was like a year ago. I was like, no, we won't. And he was like, right, like we'll get a pretty house. I was like, listen, again, the burden that they're not understanding. I was like, you do understand that I work from home, and that would be putting me in a suburb by myself with the baby while you still get to go into the office in the city every single day.
That's a fast track to you going insane.
That's what I said. I said, it is not that simple. Like those conversations have to happen first.
Yeah. Which kind of leads us into our next segments, I feel like, because we're going to talk about all the aspects that influence even wanting a kid.
Here's the thing. This is a triggering topic. I feel like if I'm getting triggered in anxiety, we all are. So I feel like let's make it funny in the middle because...
Yeah. Yeah, we just like screamed into the microphone for 30 minutes.
It's a lot.
We're just like... The guys don't know.
They don't know. Okay, so we're going to play Love or War early today.
We'll just have war facing forwards because chances are I feel
it's going to be. Okay. You go first, Nikki.
Okay. These are all parent-themed, dad-themed, which is so fitting. I'm going to hold the bottle. Okay. Love or war, they make dad jokes before they're a dad.
I think that's love because, like, they're probably going to be a good dad.
I think it's so cute.
Yeah.
I love a nerd.
It's not funny. To be clear, the jokes aren't funny.
Right. Like, I'm
Nobody's
not
saying
laughing
that.
out loud.
Like, I know that our husbands are going to listen to this episode and be like, haha, I told you I was funny. Your jokes aren't funny, but it warms my heart. It's very endearing because I'm like, you're going to be such a sweet dad.
Oh, anything you show that's means you're going to be a sweet dad just like makes me
love it.
I love a father moment. You know, my past 2 icks of the week for the past 2 episodes have been Mike being good with my nephews.
Yeah, that is true.
Or not icks of the week, turn-ons.
Turn-ons. Okay. As a dad flirts with your friends. I mean, that's obviously gross.
Okay.
Wait, you're going to say you like it?
No. Okay. If my husband ever, like, this is like an older one. The mindset behind this one, this is like when you're older and you're like friends or teens. If my husband was flirting with teen girls, I'd immediate jail. Like,
ew.
Actually.
Like, disgusting.
Like, war. But we all had that friend's dad. There's TikToks about this. We've all had, like, friends' dads that are kind of hot. No, but I'm not like the girl that's going around flirting with dads.
I can't co-sign this because it's regardless of having a friend's dad that was hot. One, if they flirted, my mom was giving him stink face. Like whenever she came to pick us up,
like not teens. Okay, I'm taking this out,
but like no. But also from this perspective, it's your husband.
No, if my husband flirts with anybody, but especially like
I hope John is the hot dad, but also would kill him
Let's
if
not flirt. Yeah.
Like, could you imagine?
I would kill Mike.
Like,
dad flirts with their friends. I would kill Mike, but I'm just saying I love a hot dad.
Yeah.
Personally.
That's fine. That's good. Okay. You're confused.
Okay, next one.
Okay.
They say they only want to have boys, or they say like I just want to be a boy dad.
That's war for me, and it's very personal because John has done that for years and has only recently stopped doing that.
I mean, my favorite answer to that is I think like the best parent says, I just want him to be healthy.
Yeah. Well, John would argue that that's a given. He would say it like that. That's a given.
I do see that point.
But he came from only boys. But he would make such a good girl dad that it's almost just like, stop. You know what I mean? Like, you're not doing yourself any favors. Like, calm down. Like, boys aren't that cool. Like, you think you're cool for wanting to be a boy dad. That makes you, like, less cool in everybody's eyes.
You can want to be a boy dad, just never verbalize it because it's giving Handmaid's Tale.
First of all, I've made many a video. I don't know what. If my first child's a boy, fine, I'll love you so much. I'm going to need a lot of help. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I do not, like, I don't know how to talk to boys. I don't know how to hang out with them.
One of 4 girls.
I don't know anything about you.
What's your dream lineup?
Oh, love this question. 3 girls and a boy. What's yours?
Wow, really? I would think if you want 4, 2 boys, 2 girls.
No. I just told you, boys aren't for me. I want a boy so that it's cool to see what it's like. I don't know.
Yeah, just one.
I don't know. And we can name it what John wants to name it, like after him. It. I'm terrible, but no. Ugh, not 2 boys.
Mine is 2. Mine's either 2 girls, 1 boy, because that's what I was and loved it. Or, actually, no, mine's 2 girls, 1 boy, because a girl needs a sister.
See, 1 boy. A girl needs a sister, and I think boys need sisters.
I think boys need sisters as well. They grow up being better humans if they have sisters. A boy doesn't need a brother. Like, you can find friends.
You have your dad. He wanted to be a boy dad so badly. There you go.
Yeah.
You have your dad. You can have him. You can take him.
I think I could do 1 girl, 2 boys.
I have this really terrible feeling in my soul that I'm going to end up with 3 boys and a girl. And I have...
I just had a really weird feeling, and I'm clairvoyant.
No, please don't tell me that.
No. I'm actually clairvoyant, so, like, sorry.
But don't tell me that you...
I saw you with, like, more than 2 boys.
well, then I'm going to have more than 4 kids. And John and I have already put this out there that if they're all boys, adoption is fully entering the picture, or like literally picking the gender through IVF. So
Oh, you can do that.
yes, you can do that. And you heard it here first. I'm not above it.
I would love twins. But
He
then
would
our
love twins,
doctor
too.
told us that there's a lot of complications with twins.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
John would like twins, but they run in the family on the
Yeah.
one side. I don't know what side it is. I think it's
I would just love it. 2 birds, 1 stone. It would be hell on earth for
To-
like taking care of. as
hard and to
newborns.
push out.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Wait, do you think that if you have twins, it's double the hospital bill?
I
what?
didn't even realize until recently that there was a hospital bill. Like, why did I just think like going to the hospital was free? But then somebody posted like a TikTok or something.
Wait, no, I have that in our game at the end.
About
How much it costs
to actually have a
Yeah.
baby.
Are we smarter than Google? Yeah, I wrote some questions down.
And it's
And I haven't looked at the
insane.
answers. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I won't know, but
Yeah, I won't know either.
next.
Okay. Enters his water park era and comes home with water shoes and potentially the matching sun shirt.
The husband does
Yes.
as a dad.
He takes the kids to the water park and pulls out water shoes with the little toesies and the Velcro snap on
for himself.
for himself.
I mean, honestly, love.
What?
He's being safe. He's being protected
I could
from
kind
the
of see
sun.
if
he's-
John, could you see John and
no, neither Mike. Mike would look like a
Yeah, that's what I'm trying
frog
to envision.
gone wrong.
like envision somebody that you actively are having sex with
No,
wearing
that
one.
kind of ruins it. But I don't. If anything you wear, if you're a guy, if you own it, if you can own something that's like even like ugly,
Yeah.
then it's hot.
It is true. That's true. Okay.
Okay, they need to show up to the airport 3 hours early. Completely love because I do that.
I knew you were going to say that. I can't. I have missed many a flight.
I've never once missed a flight. I almost did recently, and I kind of did something so savage
hope
that I
that-
can't even say to not miss it.
Oh my God.
I cut a giant line and like slunk in the line. It was the craziest situation. It was life or
Whoa,
death.
what's
I had
crazy is that
to-
I have seen you actually slunk. You actually do slunk. Like when you say slunk,
I slunk.
what the thing that you do with your body, like, is actually
doing it right now.
slunking. Like you like lurk.
I lurked.
Like you.
I was alone. It's a
You
whole
crawl.
thing, but like I'm trying to justify it by like the fact that I always let people cut me in the airport when they're running late and they're trying to
Yeah,
catch a
I think
flight.
people do that all
It's
the time.
It's a long story. I won't get into it.
I
but
miss a lot of flights. I do need to be kept humble and make it on time, but 3 hours early to me is like I need my sleep, and I always have to fly early in the morning, and I just am not. I think that like then you can go to the airport by yourself with the kids, and I'll meet you guys on the plane
Okay.
because I don't think I can do.
Mike and I are both like that though, so we're just both like equally
Meant to be.
psycho.
Thinks it's up to the father of the bride to pay for the whole wedding.
Oh, that's an immediate war. What are we? In
Yeah.
the 1800s?
But then also, I guess as a parent, I'm not really going to care because, like, for like my sons and daughters, I'm definitely going to offer to pay or contribute as much as I can to the wedding.
Yeah.
I mean, my parents.
Sorry, I didn't think about that.
Like,
one. Yes, I agree.
if I can, I'm going to really want to do that.
Yeah, for sure. I want to, whether it's for a daughter or a son, I just think the notion of just
brides.
because it's a bride, the father of the bride must pay for the wedding.
Yeah, I think
is
it's more like, what can
done
we
for.
do? What
Yeah.
can we do? What can we?
Together.
Yeah, like everybody join together and figure out what makes sense. I mean, in terms of the couple first, obviously, like if your
Yeah.
parents are even offering, but
Like, what if you're a family that has like 4 girls and you're just expected to fund 4 huge weddings? Like,
because
sorry,
it's
no.
really paying for the wedding is just the modern form of the dowry.
Yeah.
Which I think is really bizarre. So then, like, the groom's family traditionally, at least in the South, pays for the rehearsal dinner, which typically is a much smaller affair and, like, far less expensive. And I do find that to be just very interesting because it is actually the modern form of the dowry. And, like, my parents paid for my wedding. So, like, here I am saying that.
Yeah.
And, like, love you guys so much. Thank you so much. Honestly, wouldn't have a career without you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for that wedding.
But the idea of it is very interesting. Like, I think because of it, that's why I would love to do that for my kids, but just like regardless.
Yeah. I just think like it should be a conversation at the beginning of planning, like who can contribute and how much based on how much you're comfortable contributing. And if that's nothing, that's nothing. If that's a lot, great. But it shouldn't be like an immediate dad of the bride fund majority because you're the father. Like, I don't know. Gives you a minivan as a push present.
I'd actually die.
I would love
A minivan? We are not cohesive on this.
if I get a car as
a minivan?
Some of the minivans, I'm picturing like a modern day
Nicole, I'm
minivan.
learning so much about you right now.
I'm picturing a souped up. Some of those minivans out there are very nice.
I already have my push presents picked out.
Jewelry?
Yeah, and a car, but it's not a minivan.
What if you want a minivan for the children?
I would rather a Suburban. Literally, this
True.
over
I
my
want
dead
the,
body. Literally, because you know what? Minivans are not cheap.
No.
We can figure something out. We can figure out a different mode of transportation that doesn't require me to push the button in the door.
I honestly, I would.
You really
rock
fuck with a minivan.
Something about it is so nostalgic.
Something tells me that I'll never see you in a minivan, though.
Yeah, no, I'm just like, this is me just like being in a silly, goofy mood. But like, I'll never actually drive one, but like, I kind of low key love them.
There are some cool new mom cars coming out, though, like the new Jeep Defender, whatever that kind of looks like. There are a bunch that look like Tahoes, and I know we're all thinking this. We're just like every other bitch. We're all looking at these commercials like, oh yeah, like a new version of the Tahoe or Suburban. Like, we are all on board. I know it right now.
Bucket seats, I've realized from having
I had
nephews.
bucket seats growing up.
Yeah, it's just so much easier.
Bucket seats
The
is
kids can
fantastic.
walk around. Oh my God, one of my friends growing up had this like massive van with like, remember the curtains on the windows vans?
Like a Sprinter van? Or like a
much.
70s van.
Like almost like a 70s. And we would just like
Oh.
wreak havoc in this van on the way home from school. She would pick us up and
Really?
we would just like run around. It was like a theme park in that fucking van.
Wow.
It was awesome. Okay. We have
Okay,
so many
let's go on
emails.
to our next. We're going to read 2 more emails. I'm going to read the first email. I am getting married next year, and I'm noticing that a lot of my friends that are either married or getting married mid-20s are all trying to plan when they want to have babies. Don't get me wrong, I want to become a mom and have always been a planner, but at the same time, I would love to enjoy our time together as husband and wife after the wedding and travel a lot before having kids. I'm 26, and we have always envisioned purchasing a house before babies, which seems nearly impossible nowadays. That's like just ironic after last week's episode. What are your thoughts? These are her questions. Did each of you always have conversations with your friends about having kids at the same time? I'm assuming she's asking. Or do you think there's more pressure because of the economy and everything that is crazy expensive to do? Next question. Do you each want to purchase a home with your husbands before having kids? I think you should read this next email and then we ask them because this is what I was referring to. It's like it's same story, different
similar.
font. Yeah.
I'm 28, married at 27, no kids, and love this time of life. I feel like I'm finally in a great friend group, made a career shift last year, and love my work-life balance. And I'm pursuing a ton of my passions, probably too many. We also just bought a house, which cue the annoying questions like, so when are you going to fill it? STFU. She's funny.
Yeah, she's hilarious.
My question is, how do you let your social circle influence your decision to have kids? By that, I mean, we were one of the first to get married in our friend circles, so now everyone is just starting to get married. So we feel ahead of the game. And now it's fun finally having married friends. And I don't want to be the only one with kids 2 years from now. But yet, I also don't want to base my decisions on other people and know the reality of the biological clock. At the end of the day, I would love to start trying when I turn 31 or so. But do you guys also feel this pressure to wait until your girlfriends are in the same life phase? But then I don't want to wait too long. Ugh.
Okay, so basically one side of this equation is feeling pressure to hurry up, and the other side is feeling pressure to wait.
Yeah.
Which my immediate thing was, like, this is why this is so fantastic. Because these emails came in back to back, and the thing that immediately made me feel so at peace inside about whatever you choose to do is that there is actually no winning.
No. I mean, you're always going to compare to your friends. I think, like, the easy answer to this, which we'll dissect more, is just, like, you've got to do what's best for you and your husband. At the end of the day, like, you really just can't base any decisions, especially bringing a baby into this world, off of friends. However, when saying that, I also know how fucking hard that is to do, because speaking from experience, this past year, 2023, we're in 2024 now. In 2023, two of my good friends close to me, bridesmaids, popped out the cutest babies freaking ever, which made me think, time for a baby. We want one now. And it was false thinking. Like when we really looked deeper, we were like, okay, we don't actually. My two friends just had like adorable babies. I was seeing all the influences. I was seeing influencers on social media with their cute little bump pics and everything. And but then like when Mike and I really looked at each other, we were like, okay, we can't just because our friends and family are popping out babies. Way easier said than done, though.
Way easier said than done. I also think part of it, because it does have to be true to like what you're ready to do, part of it that I've realized recently, because I do think, and I told my mom this once, like if we still lived in Charleston, I feel like I would have already had a baby by now. And she agreed with me. And the funny thing was, it's not, if I lived in Charleston and I had a baby right now, it would not be because I'm ready for a baby or wanted a baby. It would be because everybody else has a baby, and I would feel like there was nothing else or left to do besides have a baby. And I'm able to look at it from that perspective and say, like, it's interesting to think about what my life would look like if I had done that. Because of outside influences, now I have the ability to say, like, oh, I can find people that are in the same phase of life as me, as in married, and also waiting a little bit longer to have kids. And so I don't feel the pressure. But it also, like, in that waiting, I've gone through a few phases of, like, baby fever. And I've realized, though, that, like, a lot of people, when they have outside influences, like their friends are having babies, they take baby fever and they jump on it immediately, when in fact it might actually just be fever. Like it might actually just be a phase. Like I've come in and out of baby fever multiple times. I've had to identify the fact that like having baby fever is not the same as me being ready for a baby. And in that same vein, it's kind of like when John and I knew we wanted to get married, but we weren't ready to get married yet. Just because I want to doesn't mean I want to do it tomorrow.
That is so key. That's a soundbite right there. Literally, having baby fever isn't the same thing as knowing you want a baby at that moment.
And your friends will give you baby fever.
I noticed for me the times that I felt that baby fever, which in my head I was like, this means I am ready and want a baby right now, was always after I hung out with my adorable baby friend, my friends' babies, my family, my nephews. It was always right after. I was like, oh, I think, and then it would fade off after a couple weeks of like being with them. And I was like,
going back to
when
your
I
life.
would go back to my life and myself and be like, okay, wait, now I'm not ready as much, which is actually rare that I felt like that, because sometimes it's the opposite. Like sometimes you hang out with babies and you're like, never mind, not ready. But
I mean, and this girl's first question, like, I actually never have discussed having kids with my friends at the same time.
Really? Oh, my
No.
friends and I are like me and Ruby. If you're listening, you better fucking wait. No, we're very much like, I know I'm contradicting myself, because I was like, don't base it off of any other. At the end of the day, I'm really not going to base my babies off of Ruby, who lives in Israel. But not trying to air Ruby's, she's whatever. Air Ruby's like
Telling Ruby's secrets.
like when Ruby's ready. But her and I were the same age. I got married sooner, but whatever. Mike and I take our sweet time as that's been clear. But like her and I, for example, like always are like, it would just be fun to have babies around the same time. And I get that. I do, like, just especially your first, you want somebody close to you who you can tell everything to, who you can go through pregnancy with.
And it must actually be very lonely for the one that does have the baby first.
Yeah.
I think that's a thing. Like, for some of these girls, if they're actually going to be the first in their friend group and so she wants to wait, I actually do get that, because it must be very lonely going through it when nobody else really gets it yet.
Well, I will say, from the people I know who go through it first, it definitely is lonely at first, but most of them find people, like you said,
They find
people who are like, Brooke has brought up the most random people that we went to college with who are also pregnant. Then I'm like, you were never friends with so-and-so. But she's like, we've literally become close because they also have a baby. And like they, and it's, I love that for her. Like I'll do the same when I'll seek out people that are having, honestly, you guys listening, well, let's all have babies at the same time.
Do you know what one factor I think though is maybe for me, what is like the friend thing is I am so much older than my siblings. Mm-hmm. And so having cousins that are so much older does freak me out. And that is something that I actually think about a lot because I hope kind of that like I can hold off as long as possible. And then my sisters maybe like don't wait as long as I did so that our cousins can be closer together in age. And like, because when I see cousins that are best friends,
I love that.
I want that for my kids and my sister's kids. I really do. And I don't mind waiting a few extra years to like make sure that I don't, at least like the oldest one that I have, I don't want them to be like 15 years older than the rest of their cousins.
Yeah.
I don't want them to feel like an outlier in the group of cousins. So I do think about it like that.
We're in such opposite situations because you would have the oldest.
I was going to ask you because I've actually thought about this before.
Oh, every day my sister calls me and is like,
you feel like you have to hurry up. We need
cousins around the same age. Hurry up. And I'm like, dear God. Because Callan's 4, Jackson's 2.
Yeah.
They're growing like weeds, honestly. And then like my brother's is 1.
So oldest siblings must think this a lot.
Yeah.
I've actually meant to ask you this before.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I get pressured like crazy because of the
But you
thing.
also kind of find yourself getting more baby fever because of it too.
Yes.
Like being ready because you have, like your family has entered the new generation era of like children. Whereas I'm still as the oldest, you're the last person to leave the era of like everybody's a kid. Or you're the first person to leave the era that everybody's a kid. So when I get pregnant, that will be the landmark for when everything shifts.
Yeah.
And until that happens, we stay in the like, I'm more pulled into my sister's world of being like 21.
Yeah.
Until I get pregnant, and then I will probably catapult the whole family forward to this new generation of kids. Like, not because I want to. I love where we're at now.
I'd rather have that, though. I'd rather be the first one to, like, do it and be like, hurry up, everybody, because it's literally, that adds so much pressure. Like, that's part of the reason this year Mike and I were like, do we do it now? Like, fuck. Because of that. I mean, my sister, like, wants us to literally move next door to her and, like, have cousins around the same age. But
yeah. I think that everybody goes through that to some capacity, but it's really difficult to be like, what part of this is actually beneficial for me to take into consideration? Mm-hmm. Like, what part of it will me taking this into consideration benefit my kids and their relationships with my friends' kids or my siblings' children? And what part of it will help me, like, have community as a parent? And then what part of it, like, if you take it too seriously, if you base it too much off of other people's decisions, I think you open the door for like slight
resentment.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
Resentment of each other. I know, resentment of where you are. Yeah,
maybe because you weren't, to use that word, and like you weren't ready. Ready is such a fluid thing, but like, you know, like I think you know.
Right. And well, like in anything in life, be more of a leader, not a follower, in motivational speech. But like truly in this, like, do not follow people just because they are having babies and you think you need to now too, because then you are going to end up resenting yourself, resenting your partner. Like, and again, I don't, if you followed this, if you're listening and you're like, full fuck, I had a baby because my friend did, that's fine. Like everything happens for a reason in this sense. I hate that saying so much, but like in things like this, I think they do. So if you have that baby that you had because you're friends, I'm sure you love that baby more than anything in the entire world.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure it's perfect.
You do. I believe, though, that you do, like, get ready. But it's just...
I just know, like, for myself, when we thought we wanted, and then didn't, and, like I said in a previous episode, like, looked at each other and laughed, like, right now we would be giving birth. And, I laughed at that thought.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, oh, darn, I should have. Like, I just, you know when you know.
Okay, so I wanted to say some things and ask you also things that you, like, are just considering before having a baby. Like, I know for mine, one thing that John and I have talked about is that we want to do what we did like premarital. I always am freaking talking about therapy, but like we want to do pre-baby counseling.
I love that.
So like I don't know if that looks like the duration of the pregnancy or when we are like ready to start trying. I think to me that's my version of like getting ready, because I do want to be asked the hard questions about like parenting and expectations and sacrifices, and I want to be challenged because I do know it's going to change my entire world, and I like want to take the time to do that before we become parents. Like,
I think that's such a good idea. I think I know it's going to rock me. Like I just know, like, I'm not comparing babies and dogs, but I know how like I changed with Louis. But that's the sacrifice of it all. I've never put anyone else before me. I sound like a selfish narcissist. I rarely put other people before myself.
you're a middle child.
I really am. I mean, obviously, I put my husband before me sometimes, my loved ones, friends in certain situations. But like, I know for a fact when I have kids, I am going to be living for those kids.
Yeah.
And any parent is. I don't know why I'm like, I am. But so that's going to be I'm going to need some serious evaluation, therapy, whatever, to prep for that mindset.
I mean, I don't know why it's not normal.
What? Therapy? Pre-baby therapy?
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
the fuck?
Yeah, it should be a thing. It
Yeah.
might be. You never know.
Like that when you go to your first appointment with your OBGYN, which is another one, finding a doctor, which is very difficult when you're in a big city, or when you have what we talked about earlier, you moved like after post grad, you don't have like your OBGYN, and in New York, it can take you like a year to even get an appointment with a good one. And so that's a big thing. Like, I tell John, I'm like, he doesn't ever have to think about that. He never will. Like, I have to think my baby prep starts years before it doesn't. Like, again, like the girl said, they think it all just happens like that.
Doctor, little things like that I've thought about, like a car. I know we talked, you don't have to have a car. Like city parents, I'm sure not everybody has a car. But
okay,
like,
but for city parents, like for me, I live in on 5th floor, walk up, so I can't carry a baby up 5 mother effing floors.
Yeah, the space of it all. And I could see us
So a car,
getting pregnant and then having to move after that. Like I just know for a fact, based on like my life, I'm gonna have to move pregnant. I'm just facing that fact right now.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be like, just because of where we live and how expensive it is to buy a house, like we talked about last episode. I just know in a perfect world we would move into a nice premium house and then get pregnant and have baby in house. But like, that's just not gonna happen.
That doesn't happen for any of us anymore. Like literally, like one person said, like, you want to buy a house first, but you can't. Like, maybe you want a car, but you live in the city and you can't. Or like, maybe I'd like to move into an apartment that has like an elevator, but the market right now is terrible, so I can't. Like, I love my apartment and I don't want to leave, and I would have to with the baby, and I'm not ready to do that yet. It's like, factors just don't look the same anymore. And I think that it's like, just
easier said than done.
Yeah, it's not like the want versus the like able to, like, they do not equate.
Very true. What else we were talking about? The pre-baby counseling,
doctors, finding a school. That's a lot.
Oh, a school is
I don't know about for other
huge.
people, but yeah, like I have sent John multiple churches, and I say, maybe we should go to this church on Sunday. And I'm so crazy because I know I've researched the schools of the churches, and I'm like, but if we're a member, we get a discounted rate on schooling, which is so effing expensive in New York.
School districts in any place, like, people go feral over a school district, and I see why you want your kid to be in a good school district. I know for a fact, like, Hoboken school districts is apparently like awful, and you have to send your kids to private school, which is $1 trillion. It's just like another factor that you don't even think about, which you don't have to until they're school age. But you still
you have to think about preschool.
I'm
talking about preschool. I literally, you guys, the preschools in my neighborhood are $60K a year. So if you're listening to this and you're related to me, next time you ask me when I'm having a baby, I hope there's a check for $60K that follows that question, because I don't have it.
At this point, I'm really praying for a miracle, which I'm sure a lot of you are. If you're feeling very stressed out by this conversation, apologies, but
No, that's
We're
why,
just voicing
yeah,
our
it is a very
concerns.
stressful conversation.
It's really, like, I have a migraine.
But I am just enjoying my
Partly
life.
'cause my
John
head
said
is
this
huge.
recently too. He's like, I just don't want to talk about babies because I guess then like proceeded to have baby fever the next week. But he was like, I just love where we're at in life right now so much. And it's scary to think about it changing.
Valid.
It is like when you just like love your freedom as a couple. I want a life with my husband that when my kids leave for school or whatever, that I can go back to. God forbid I didn't like continue to nurture that life with him like
That's
throughout the time.
something I've been thinking about so much recently.
I feel like a lot of people get divorced when their kids go to college because they don't know who they are without their kids.
Yes. And that's low key, I think, like, what my parents, well, no, I was going into high school, but that's so important. I think
Yeah.
about that. I like haven't thought about that until recently, that when you zoom out big picture and think about the long-term life, your kids are only with you until for 20 years, which like isn't really that, or not, sometimes like 18. Some kids leave, but how long are they, like, whatever, how old are you when you graduate college? 20,
I mean, your
30?
kids are with you forever. And like, I also stand by the fact that like,
Yeah, but
you don't
living
get
with
rid of
you.
them. Like once you're a parent, that's always your kid no matter what.
Oh, yeah.
But like they leave the house.
Living with you until they're like
Yeah.
23.
You
That's
need an
not a long
identity with
time.
your partner. And I don't know, like that's just something that like I think coming from divorced parents, honestly, like I have always hyper fixated on like just lots of stuff like that where I'm like, listen, no, I feel very adamantly that I want to spend a lot of time creating. I had a dating identity with you. I had a dating relationship with you. I want to see how we progress through life and like the people that we become. And I want to like know you much more intimately, just you and I, for a really long
Yeah.
time. Because like after a certain number of years, like you've seen that person grow and change quite a few times and you've been with them through like transitions. And I think that's important to know how to like transition with your partner and like allow them to grow and you grow, but like you maintain this identity together and get to know each other all the time. And like, I don't know, like that's my life right now.
I just don't want to be one of those parents who is like only living for their kids, which I know I said earlier in this episode. I'm going to live for my kids. I'm obviously going to like put my kids so first. Still
Yeah.
continue to put my husband before me at many times. But I just, when I'm an empty nester, I want to be able to say like, yeah, like I love this. I love this point in my life where it's just my husband and I. Our kids, we still love them.
I want to be
We still
excited
visit
for
them.
it.
Yeah, I want to be excited.
I don't
for
want it to be, I'm sure, yes, I'm not saying that it's not sad because they're your children and you love them. But I want to be pumped. Like,
Yeah.
I want to be like, look at the things that we can start doing again. And also, like, by the way, I want those things to be so embedded in who we are that, like, even when we stray from, like, spending time together, like, one-on-one, which I'm sure just happens over time when you, like, have kids, I want to have something that we can go back to.
Yes. I think it's also the marking of a really good parent. Not me almost getting choked up because whatever. But that's something my mom always was really good about. Like, she was always like, this is when she was single and like dating around, whatever. She was always like, I know what's best for my kids. I want them to go out and experience the life that they deserve. So like, with all due respect, like get out of the house after college, like move out.
Yeah.
And she was always like, if you need to come back and live here, you can, but like go flap your wings and fly. And that's how I want to be. And I think couples that aren't in that, haven't built that foundation of a happy marriage are very much more inclined to be like,
come back.
No, come back, move home, please.
Or like when your kid hits a like a road bump, which is bound to happen. And like you said, like if you have to come back, come back. I would rather be like, how else can I help you to keep you from coming back?
Yeah.
Like I hope that I never am making also because I do feel like at the end of the day, sometimes you take a lot out on your kids at their expense. Like because you're not happy. Like you want them back to fill your time and you become blind to the fact that that's not the best thing for them.
Mm-hmm. And it's you might not even realize it at the time, but you're just like that not happy. So you're like, I need my kids.
I don't think it's intentional. I'm sure like no parent intentionally would ever do that.
Yeah.
I just think that that's what happens when you neglect yourself and you neglect what makes you tick and what makes you happy. And then like you don't. And I heard somebody say one time like the ranking no matter how obsessed with your kids you are, and I'm like the same as you. I know I'm going to be so hands-on. Like, I'm sure I'm just going to want to hang out with them all day. But like, actually, sometimes I think maybe I'll be driven crazy
get away.
too. Yeah. But I do think, like I heard someone say one time, it should always go your spouse then your kids. And I actually agree with that, because the more I think about it, it's like putting your spouse first. Your relationship is the only relationship that they have to model after for a very, probably for the majority of their life before they get married. So you better show a relationship that's healthy and that you're putting that spouse first and you're taking care of that relationship and you're having a good time with your partner.
Yeah.
And you're in love.
Such a debate that we need a whole nother episode for, because I could talk about this topic in this notion forever, because I used to be like, what the fuck, that's crazy. Like,
same, but I think that's why I wasn't ready. Now I get it a little bit more. But
that's also because I was picturing, like, when you say that, like, when I hear people say put your spouse before your kids, I used to picture like in a life or death situation, like, who am I saving, which isn't the case. And
also I think it's not the case in a situation where like your spouse does something that like is harmful to the kid. Like, I'm protecting my kid over my spouse.
Oh, God, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I used to think about it like that, too. But that's not what it is.
But it's more of, like, modeling that relationship and, like, setting that foundation. I don't know. I need to,
like, the point isn't, I think also, honestly, to be real, when you come from, like, very weird family dynamics, sometimes we think about the phrase, like, put your spouse before your kids. It's, like, take care of your spouse first. And that is not like, you're not their parent.
No.
You're not supposed to parent your spouse first. You're not supposed to take care of them first. It just means like if I am your wife and like I need alone time or I need this or I need this type of help or like
help alleviate that for me
before
the kids' needs.
It should not be like your daughter is the most important person in this world and then you. It's like And honestly, I say that, and I'm sure that that's probably exactly how everybody inherently feels at the end of the day, and I get that. But don't like make it your personality trait that like, your wife is just your wife, but your daughter's your whole world.
God, no. Oh my God, if I ever got treated like that.
You know what I mean? Like, I want you to think our daughters are your whole world.
It's all about balance. Like, you don't ever. Like, when I'm a parent, I'm never going to give all my energy only to my kids or all my energy only to my husband. And it's all about balance. Like, recognize who's in need more at that moment and give what's needed to them.
Yeah.
That's so simplifying it. This is a whole, we need to dissect, like, what people even mean by that phrase. Because, again, I used to picture, like, life or death, gun to the head. Like, do you choose your husband or kids? And I'm like, oh, God. I don't think that's what it means. Yeah. I think it just means, like you said, like.
Because that's the foundation of your family. Your spouse is the foundation of your family.
Yeah.
Your family starts with the two of you.
And point blank, you modeling a good relationship for your kids is actually such a good parent move, which is hard to wrap your, like, a lot of parents I'm sure think they're being really good parents by like giving only themselves to their kids and all of themselves, but it's really like you modeling that relationship for your kids is being a good parent.
Yeah. Like, this isn't Kim Kardashian having to go with the Band-Aid for Kanye West and him being like, you neglect me, like, you won't get me the Band-Aid that I want. That's not what I mean. That's like literally suck it up. It's just, it's you know what? But I do think that when you grow up with, our generation struggles with like family dynamics, I think, a little bit. So it is hard to like figure out like what's right.
Yeah. We all come from divorced parents.
Oh, I'm pretty sure. The stat has got to be wild.
It's insane. I mean,
this is also, I think, why coming from divorced parents also plays into the anxiety.
For the last couple minutes.
So we're going to play. We're not going to do ick or turn on of the week this week. We're going to play Are You Smarter Than Google? I've got 3 questions regarding having babies, and I want to see what both of our answers are. And then we're going to read what Google has to say about it. Okay. Oh. Number 1, how much do you think it costs to have a baby?
Like long term, like or just physically to get the baby out?
In the hospital. I'm like actually crazy. I sat there and I calculated what the first year of life would cost in New York this week.
Can you send me that?
No, I did my own research and math.
Can you share it?
Yeah. It's not
Bitch,
cheap.
Quit gatekeeping the info.
It's not cheap.
Do a TikTok about it.
Okay. All right. What do you think it is?
I saw something on this a while ago that said like 13,000.
Yeah, I was going to say 20.
Yeah, I was going to say more though.
Okay.
Than
The
13.
answer is vaginal delivery is 15. Average national. Okay, so a lot of us live in places where it is far higher than that. The average C-section is $26,000.
Insurance covers some, surely.
It does. And then it's like 3 to 4K after insurance. Do you have to like save up? Because
Like
that's not. Because being pregnant, I actually did being pregnant in itself.
So expensive. Because the doctor's visits, everything.
And also, like, I thought about this the other day, like, clothes are not cheap.
Pregnancy clothes?
Yeah, I mean, you
Maternity. I plan on not buying one piece of maternity
I don't want to
wear.
buy maternity, but it's not like you're going to fit into what's currently in your closet.
I've already
For the
been
better
like
part of a
buying
year.
a maternity wardrobe, and I'm not even
Me
trying.
too.
Like,
No, I buy clothes
Like
for when I'm
this?
pregnant all the time.
you best believe I'm wearing this pregnant.
Oh, I love that for us.
I plan on like I'm Maddie from Euphoria. Like I plan on just looking like me, but pregnant.
Yeah. Same, but it's going to have to be in different clothes.
Yeah.
I am going to be one fat pregnant lady.
We all are.
Nope. Very much, I'm going to be a very fat pregnant lady. I've actually run this by all members of my family who have said we think the same. My body type is not meant to be cute and pregnant.
Okay.
It's okay. It's
But,
just a
like-
fact of my life.
Yeah, I like when pregnant women are like, oh, but I look whatever. I can't speak because I am not one, but I'm always like, you're pregnant. You're carrying a baby. Like you're supposed to gain weight. I don't
Yeah.
know.
But
also,
like, you're
I'll
going to be a
probably
cute
go
pregnant
through-
woman. You don't understand what I'm saying because
No.
you're going to be precious. Like when John's like, I can't wait for you to be pregnant. I'm going to rub your belly. You're going to be so cute. I'm like, literally count your blessings now because that's certainly
Have you
not the
seen-
reality of what it's going to be like.
The TikToks about how it can literally change your nose. Like some women's
Oh, I already
noses
don't like my nose.
have just like blown up.
Okay, well, not to be like annoying, but I would probably just finally get a nose job after that because I already hate my
Yeah.
nose. That's
Boob job,
terrible.
Nose job, everything job. I'm an advocate for. Okay,
next
Google.
one. What do you think the number one thing men worry about when having children?
Finances.
I also thought money for sure.
Oh, if they're going to be a good dad.
Yeah, it's fear of failure,
Yeah, I knew that.
which to me is also male coded for money
Yeah, money plays into that. Like fear of not being able
to provide.
Yeah.
That's what I think. Okay. What is the number one thing that you think women worry about before having a baby? I'm about to look right
Something
now.
with, this isn't me at all, but something with the body. Or like a lot of women are so afraid of giving birth.
I thought it was going to be I actually thought it was going to be drinking, like because you're drinking before you find
Oh,
out you're
that's like-
pregnant.
Oh.
Like I
no.
felt like that would be the thing, like to find out you're pregnant and be like, oh my God, but I was drinking. Number one thing that women worry about before having a baby is doing something that they will do something that will harm their baby's health.
I get that. There's so many damn things you can't do. You can't put retinol on your face. You can't get laser hair removal. You can't drink. You can't eat sushi. You can't do pasteurized cheese. You cannot do.
You can't have
so
deli
much
meets.
when you're.
You
pregnant.
can't have Caesar salads.
Yeah.
I learned that the other day. That
Caesar
sucks.
salad.
Caesar dressing apparently you can't have when you're pregnant.
Can't get Botox.
Can you believe? Oh no. I just had Botox today.
Oh, where?
Masseter.
Really?
Yeah. So next time you guys see me, no, just kidding. She said it will take like a month, but we can all watch
Is
it
this your
progress
first
together.
time?
Yeah, I've never had it there
I've
before.
never had
but I have
masseter.
bad lockjaw.
I can't wait to see it.
It's like
I'm
got to the
so
point where it's like
intrigued.
cracking in the morning, and I'm super excited to see what my new skinny jaw looks like.
Yeah, I'm so intrigued to see the masseter.
Yeah, I go in Hoboken.
Oh, that's
Actually,
why.
really close to you. That's
Okay,
why I
okay.
got stuck in Hoboken today.
Interesting.
Well,
we've solved babies,
yeah.
right?
The
Well, you
first
guys,
and last podcast you'll ever need to know to feel comfortable about becoming a mom this holiday season.
I don't know about you, but I'm gonna go home and
literally cry.
Cry and then sleep.
I
And
hope
then-
this episode
you know
didn't
what?
freak you guys out as much as it did me because I'm having heart palpitations.
No, it did freak me out, but also this episode weirdly made me not want to overthink it. Like now I kind of just want to like let it rip and fuck it.
That's what I was kind of saying about all the emails because everybody had the same problem in different fonts. Like
Yeah.
there is no right answer actually.
There's no right answer. And like at the end of the day,
It's scary as shit regardless, basically.
you're going to be able to tackle things as they come, cross every bridge as it comes, make the best decision with what you have in front of you. Now I'm just like spouting random advice that I like to live by. We love you guys.
We love you guys. Happy New Year. We'll see you next week with our resolutions.